Okay, we're going to start by going over number 6. So here we have some partial requests. We have one of the expressions for the area of the block, and we know the length of one of the sides. Use a diagram to find the length of the other side and write a second expression for the area of the block. Verify your two expressions for the area of the block are equivalent using algebra. So for A, we're given a block that has an area of 2x squared plus 7x plus 3, and we know that one of the side lengths is x plus 3, so I drew a diagram. I started by drawing the x plus 3. I knew that in order to get 2x squared, the other side length has to have 2 x's. We have to have 2x on the other side. And then I thought, well, if my constant is 3 and this side length is 3, what do I multiply by 3 to get 3? 1. So I tried 2x plus 1 times x plus 3. When I factored it out, or when I FOILed, I got 2x squared plus 7x plus 3, which is exactly what we started with. So this expression should have been 2x plus 1 times x plus 3. For letter B, I did the same thing. I knew that if one of my side lengths was x plus 1 and my area started with 5x squared, my other side had to have 5 x's. So I just drew in 5 x's. And then I thought about, well, if my constant is 3 and I'm multiplying something by 1, what times 1 equals 3? Well, that's 3. So I tried x plus 1 times 5x plus 3. I FOILed it out. I got 5x squared plus 5x plus 3x plus 3, which simplifies to 5x squared plus 8x plus 3, and that is exactly what we were supposed to get. So the equivalent expression for the area of B should have been 5x plus 3 times x plus 1. For letter C, we have 2x plus 1, and in our area, we have 2x squared. So I knew if I'm starting with 2x, my other side just needs to have 1x, because 2x times x will give me 2x squared. So I put an x here, and then I thought, okay, well, my constant in this factor is 1, and I need to multiply that by something to equal 3. What times 1 equals 3? That's 3. So I tried x plus 3 times 2x plus 1, which ended up simplifying to be the exact area. So I got 2x squared plus 7x plus 3, which is what I was supposed to get. So the equivalent expression for this area is x plus 3 times 2x plus 1. For this question, what are some patterns you see in the two equivalent expressions for area that might help you to factor? You could have come up with a number of things. Some of the examples that I came up with include the first term in the trinomial is determined by the product of the first terms in the factors. So here, this 2x squared is determined by the product of this, the first term in this factor, times the first term in this factor. You also could have seen that your constant in your trinomial is determined by the product of the constants in your factors. So 3 is equal to 3 times 1. Those were just some patterns that I noticed, but again, you could have come up with more than that. But those are two important ones to keep in mind, okay? So let's go over number 7. So for number 7, it says use diagrams or patterns to write the following orders in factored form. I don't have a lot of space, so I'm just going to go ahead and give it to you algebraically, but if you did diagrams, that's absolutely wonderful. Keep doing the diagrams, that's great. So let's start with A, 3x squared plus 16x plus 5. I'm going to use the patterns I came up with here, the fact that the first term of trinomial equals product of the first terms of factors. So I know 3x squared, that has to be, the first terms of my factors have to be two numbers that multiply to equal 3, and the only two numbers are 1 and 3. So I'm going to have 3x at the beginning of one of my factors and just 1x at the beginning of the other one of my factors, okay? And then I'm thinking of my constant. The constant of my trinomial is equal to the product of the constants of the factors. So the constants of my factors are going to go here and here. Those two numbers multiplied together have to give me 5. Well, the only two numbers that multiply together to give me 5 are 1 and 5. So a 1 is going to go in one of these blanks and a 5 is going to go in the other. I'm going to choose that placement by looking at this middle term. I'm trying to get all the way up to 16x. So I could try to put a 5 here first and a 1 here, but when I multiply that out, I end up getting 3x times 1, which is 3x, plus 5 times x, which is 5x, and that only gives me 8x. So I know that I want my 5 to be multiplied by my 3, so that way I get closer to this 16. If I simplify this out, I get 3x squared plus 15x plus x, which is going to simplify to 16x, plus 5, and that gives me my final answer. For B, my first term is 2x squared. I know that in my factors, my first terms are going to have to multiply together to give me 2, so I'm going to try 2x and x, and then my constant term is 15. I could do 1 and 15. I could do 3 and 5. I'm going to try 1 and 15 to start with. I don't want to have my 15 multiplied by my 2 because that's going to give me 30. So I'm going to put my 15 over here. And then I'm going to put my 1 over here. I know that both are going to have to be negative because my constant is a positive. And when I add them together, I get a negative. So let's see if that works. That gives me 2x squared minus 2x minus 15x plus 15. Well, if we simplify that out, that's 2x squared minus 17x plus 15. So that's not correct. That's not going to work. So we don't want to use 15 and 1. Instead, let's try 5 and 3. Okay, so 5, if I multiply 5 by 2, I'll get 10. So I'm going to try to put my 5 over here and my 3 over here. When I do that, that should simplify to give me 2x squared minus 13x plus 15. For letter C, we should have gotten 3x minus 5 times x plus 2. And for D, we should have gotten 2x minus 1 times x plus 5. When we look at this third term of our constant for C and D, we know that it's negative. Meaning our factors, one of our constants has to be a negative and one has to be a positive, because when we multiply a negative and a positive together, we get a negative. So that's something that we addressed in 8.3 part 1. Okay? All right, so tomorrow we're going to start class with some notes that kind of refresh ourselves on everything we just did and put it into a more formal way for you to study it and learn it. Homework, you need to finish 8.3. I will be collecting it first thing when I come back on Thursday morning. If you have any questions, work with your table groups, or you can try to send me a remind message. Okay, have a great day.